And we are live. Hey guys, what's going on? James here. Welcome back to yet another episode of the MrBucsNation podcast. Joining me is Mr. Billy, Mr. William underscore Walsh underscore NFL, which you guys can find at the top of the description here in this live stream. Billy, how you doing today, man? Happy New Year.
Yes, happy new year to you, everyone joining. 2024, fresh start for all of us, Bucks included.
Yes, and that's a good thing because the Bucs obviously, unfortunately, ended the year on a sour note, losing to the New Orleans Saints, which sucked. That was unfortunate, but now they find themselves in a great opportunity to start off the new year right. You beat the Carolina Panthers, you go to the playoffs by winning the NFC South, and you get to host a playoff game. It's a pretty fun time, man. It's a pretty fun time. So, Billy, you got to feel pretty pumped up about this game coming into this week, right? Carolina Panthers, huh? Winning
Yeah.
in?
I mean, last week was the biggest game of the season, and it became not. So now this week becomes the biggest game of the season.
Yay! Woo! We love to see that. Now, I actually, Billy, I don't know if you know this, but I ran a poll on the channel. I've been doing that a lot lately.
I
Uh,
like the polls. I voted them. I love the polls.
they're very fun. I love a good poll on YouTube. It's just a lot of fun, right? Now, I said, do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will win in Week 18 against the Carolina Panthers? 1,200 people voted in this poll, Billy. I want you to guess the percentages, or I guess really, because you'd be able to do quick maths after this. But how many people do you think said yes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win, percentage-wise?
I'm gonna say 83%.
You're pretty close. It's 88%. And I think that is a great thing to see, right? It shows that people still have a lot of confidence
Yeah.
in the Bucs. And we're going to be talking about some other polls that I've been running on the channel here lately as well here throughout this live stream. But the fact that 88%, look, folks, Carolina Panthers, they're down bad, as we say in the business. They're down bad. It is. I mean, you got the owner pouring his drink on people at the most recent game. Bryce Young does not look like he's in the best of situations. It's tough for the Panthers right now, Billy. This is a game that the Bucs should win. Is that fair to say?
Yes, a game they should win, and I think I know we're going to talk about Todd Bowles' job security. That's something that's coming up, a little foreshadowing. But a game that, yeah, they should win. And at an important juncture like this in the season, yeah, just they should win. I'll leave it at that.
I agree. I mean, look, it's the team that literally should have the number one overall pick in the draft, but they were
Yes.
so bad they traded it away. like I don't look. I don't mean to knock Panthers fans. I genuinely feel bad for the situation that they are in right now. But it should be a very very winnable game. And like the Bucs are pretty healthy too, all things considered. We'll probably dive into the injury report a little bit later on in this, but this is a situation that's the perfect storm for the Bucs, Billy. I think you would agree with that, where they're coming in with everything on the line. I mean, if they don't show up now, I don't know what to tell you at that point. You're playing probably the weakest team in the NFL, one of the weaker teams in the NFL. Obviously, a division game is still tough because your division opponents always want to go out there and beat you. But this is a team the Bucs have already beaten this year. Admittedly, it was a close game. I think it came down to a field goal or something along those lines. But the Bucs are healthy. The Bucs should have the motivation that they need to go out there and win this football game, Billy. Because again, if they win, they're in. If they lose, they're out. It's as simple as that. That it don't get any easier than that, Billy. So, do you think this team's going to show up motivated?
Well, you'd like it to be that simple, but it was also that simple last week, and we saw the result that the Buccaneers put out on the field. Yeah, like you said, it was a field goal game last time these two teams played. I think a lot of that had to do with the weather and the conditions. I think that really kind of bogged down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense a ton in that game. I would expect the Bucs to show up. I was feeling, remember, last week when we were here, I was feeling really confident the Bucs were going to show up against the Saints. So maybe I don't have as good a grasp on the team as I thought I did because they showed up nowhere near the field. I don't know where they were on Sunday. It was not Raymond James Stadium.
They were home.
So yeah, it was
But we don't mean
so
home. We don't mean home in the stadium. They were at their houses.
just chilling,
Yeah.
just chilling, watching the game like everyone else. So I just think, yes, I believe that they'll show up. I think it's very clear, like the magnitude of the game is very apparent. So yeah, I believe they'll show up. And as you said, I mean, talk about a game you should win. I mean, it's a gift wrap for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? It's winning you're in against a team that you already beat and a team that relatively everyone has beat. So yeah, you should win. You should recognize how important it is. I don't think there's a chance it's a trap game because they just got fleeced a week ago by the Saints. I, but man, it's in my head that performance last week.
See, I feel the opposite way now, right? I feel like given that the Bucs, because we had talked about it last week, right? Where it was a situation of, oh, I don't know, could these guys get complacent? And they did. Um,
And
it was a situation like that. I feel like, okay, you've gotten that out of the way now. Now you can re-lock in, which is we've seen this team do it before. This year we've seen this team do it before.
yeah,
I'm gonna guess that they're gonna rebound. I'm gonna guess that they're gonna bounce back. In fact, I'm gonna say they're gonna win 28-12. Billy, I'm gonna say that. What do you think?
28 to 12. We're going score predictions, huh?
Yeah, just threw it out there.
I'll say 20, probably like 24-13, 24-10.
I
I don't 28 to 12 is a lot.
It's fair. I think that the Bucs are gonna take this opportunity to hopefully say, okay, we need momentum going into the playoffs. We need to prove that we can look like a good football team. And I think that they're going to do their absolute darndest. Players, coaches, everybody, you know. Um, and they're going to say we want to make the playoffs, so let's go make the playoffs. That's what I think is going to happen. Ultimately, we'll see, right? We'll see. You never know what could happen. Again, if they lose, but um, I think it's going to be a situation where they're going to bounce back. Especially like, dude, they've got to be so upset because they got embarrassed by the
They
Saints.
got
There's no
embarrassed.
easier way to put it.
No, they got embarrassed for sure.
Yeah, so they're gonna rebound, I think, and go out there and get a win and route to the playoffs.
And for some of the guys who have been in the locker room for like a longer period of time, they got embarrassed in the most obvious way. Like it wasn't even, it was so like a lot of people, I think, you just kind of alluded to the fact that you thought they would maybe get complacent and then kind of the old school Saints Bucks rivalry vibes would come back. And they totally did. All of that happened. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I was so wrong for doubting you or even disagreeing with you when we were streaming about it. But for the old school, like veteran guys who have been there, like the pre-Tom Brady
Like
era player,
Bolston, Levante, Evans.
just such a even Chris Godwin, it's just such a reminder of what used to be because they've lived that, right? So for them to lose that way is just man, it just oh, it's just got to hit different. So yeah, I don't think it'll be I would be shocked if this week was a trap game, but again, it's just crazy to me like last week shouldn't have been. It should have been like it was the poetic justice way to end the season and get yourself in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it didn't happen. I mean, it didn't happen. So we'll see, man. I don't think this is a trap game. I wouldn't classify that as that. I wouldn't classify this as that. Words are hard. And I think the Bucs will rebound and hopefully look pretty good en route to the playoffs. But Billy, we have a lot of other stuff we want to talk about today. Real quick in the chat, we got Big Body, we got Thomas in here, Public 1757. I don't know if you mean 1457, but Public's love. We love to see it. What's up, Christopher? What's up, man? The Christopher has arrived. There you go. What's up, Big? Somebody said, but it's not going to happen that way. Chuck says head coach and quarterback are playing for a job. Possibly. Hello to everybody in the chat. We got Giovanni in the chat as well. Real quick, while we are here, Billy, do you want to hear a nothing burger of a report?
A nothing burger of a report.
Yes. That means
Sure. I'm interested.
There's nothing to this. This is from Josina Anderson. I think I'm saying her name right.
I believe it's Justina.
Jacina Anderson, sorry. So she had reported on January 1st that the Chargers were going to potentially be interested in Bill Belichick. And then she said, there's another team interested in Bill Belichick. I may follow up with this, or I will follow up with this when the time is right. I'm going to read to you, word for word, what this report was. Okay? Again, word for word report from Josina Anderson. Josina?
I think it's Justina, but I could be.
Josina Anderson, Josina Anderson, whatever you want to call
Let's
it.
just call her JoJo.
JoJo Anderson. Okay, here is the report. I'm gonna put it on screen for everybody watching the live stream as well, just because, my goodness. Here is the official report. I'm reading this word for word. I'm told there are teams within the NFC South with potential interest in Patriots head coach Bill Belichick, per source. I previously discussed potential explorations with the Chargers below. While the future Hall of Famer has an indelible mark, winning 6 Super Bowls with Tom Brady, I'm also told there are still recent high-level sentiments within the organization regarding desires to mutually part ways and start anew, per source. Generally speaking, wherever there's pending transition, it strategically involves analysis of the market for feedback, guidance, and hopeful assurance of a landing spot outside of a prospect candidate electing to just take time off. There are still NFL teams whose fates and future direction are pending the outcome of Week 18. Right now, Belichick has 333 wins on the all-time wins list, including playoffs, 15 behind what's necessary to eclipse Don Shula, leading with 347. League sources have said it's a goal for Belichick to surpass this mark. So, I say all of whatever the heck that just was, Billy, to say, wow, there might be a couple of NFC South teams interested in Bill Belichick. I want to say also, the first reply to that tweet was, yeah, this was written by ChatGPT, which I thought was hilarious. What are your thoughts on that report, Billy? A couple of teams in the NFC South may be interested in old Bill Belichick. One of those
My
teams, the
first thought
Bucs.
is my first thought is if that wasn't written by ChatGTP, that was a heck of a vocabulary flexing right there. I mean that the wording that was expensive. Kind of a headache. A lot of nothing, like you said. I don't know though if the Bucs are a team. I think it's probably the Panthers
They would be
if any.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the Panthers. I don't think it's the Falcons. I don't think the Saints. I think the Saints like Dennis Allen for whatever reason. But I think that yeah, I think it's probably the Panthers if there is a team. But that's extrapolating because there's really that like you said that is a lot of words for nothing to actually be present in them. It was just one long nothing. Like there's actually nothing there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I will say this: I made a video recently, Billy, here on the channel, talking about a Jeremy Fowler report of ESPN, where he had said the Bucks coaching staff didn't feel in danger, basically regarding their situation following this season. Um, Took a look at, and also they had talked about the Saints and the Falcons, and it seemed like both guys were safe, all things considered. But Week 18 could change that if one team gives the other team a lopsided loss. It could be a situation where things may change. If I had to guess, Billy, if I had to guess, I'm gonna say that the two teams are one, the Carolina Panthers. I'm gonna 100% agree with you on that. And then like the Atlanta Falcons, it would be the only other team that I could think of looking to swing big on a coaching hire. The Saints, again, I agree with you where it's like, yeah, they seem like they're pretty entrenched with Dennis Allen as their head coach. And mean you have talked about Bowles in this situation in podcasts past, in even the possibility of Belichick being
Yeah.
there, right? And it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem like a fit, in my opinion. Do the Glazers like to swing big? Yes, they do. They've tried to bring in Chip Kelly in the past. They've tried to bring in a guy like Jim Harbaugh, John Gruden in the past. I think
Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians obviously was a big swing. This may be like wrong, but I feel like they tried to get Bill Parcells at one point. I don't remember, but it sounds right in my head. So the Lovie Smith was kind of considered a big swing at the time. So it could make sense, but nah. It just doesn't not for Bill Belichick. If this was maybe a Jim Harbaugh report, maybe I'd be more inclined to say, well, maybe there's something to that. But a big nothing burger, and I don't think it's necessarily talking about the Bucs. It does reference teams in the NFC South. I don't think the Bucs are one of those teams, and I think that it would more likely be the Carolina Panthers, whose owner is looking for any modicum of stability. My
Yes.
goodness, that man, that owner, needs some help for his team. And he might think of it in the form of Bill Belichick. It also wouldn't surprise me if the Falcons thought, hey, we haven't won in a while. They're very familiar with Bill Belichick, based on the Super Bowl. And maybe they'd be another team that was interested. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Arthur Smith feels safe to me.
You
And
think so?
maybe one of the only reasons they would get rid of him would be for a big swing like a Bill Belichick. He feels safe to me. I think the Panthers, yeah, they're desperate. They're clawing for anything. And Bill Belichick is a big name. He's got a lot of success. Everybody in the fan base would obviously know immediately who he is and who they've hired and might fill the stadium, might force people to buy some merch and flock to game days. I don't think there's I don't think it's the Bucs and I don't think it's the Saints. I think both of those coaches are relatively safe.
Yeah, so it seems like we are in agreement with this. But, just wanted to talk about it because I was like, I saw it before we started and I was like, what? I was like, what is this? And I just wanted to talk about it because I know people may want to talk about it. But, meh, kind of a nothing burger there of a report. Probably talking about teams that aren't the Bucs, but still could be interesting. We could see Bill Belichick in the NFC South. Just probably not going to be with the Bucs. So, still thought it was a pretty interesting topic. But, Billy, another thing I want to talk about is how about Baker Mayfield? We've been talking about this guy a lot here on the channel. And like a lot. I should call this channel MrBucsNation. That would be accurate because holy crap, we've been talking about this man a lot. I want to talk
True.
about the possibility of him coming back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Uh, I
Do
did a
we?
I did a poll recently on the channel, and it was, if I can find it,
I remember this poll actually.
let's see if I can find it. Do you want to see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers keep Baker Mayfield after the 2023 season? 1.7 thousand people, 1,700 people voted in this poll, Billy. I want you to guess the number that said no.
No, I'm gonna say I think 5% said no.
You're generous. It's 16%.
Okay, okay.
But I will say I saw which by the way, that poll has 85 comments. So people are having a fun time. I saw that poll and I thought, wow, that is way better than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts and opinions about the idea of Baker coming back and being the quarterback for the Bucs after the 2023 season?
I think, like you said, it's the poll results are definitely better than you. I when I voted in the poll, I saw the results a little, so that kind of swayed my guess. When I voted though, and it showed me the percentages, I was shocked because I thought it would be much more split down the middle. I thought a 50-50 split or a 60-40 was going to be what I was looking at. I think it shows you that Baker has kind of won some people over with the early December run, the December win streak up until, of course, last week.
Hmm.
And it shows that I guess, some people are they're coming around and you're kind of losing some of that preconceived notion you had about Baker and the Bucs coming into the season and taking, just this season in kind of putting tunnel vision on it and looking at Baker with the Bucs versus Baker with the Panthers or Baker with the Browns. And as far as we've both been kind of in lockstep on this since we started doing these, as far as Baker coming back, of course, I think Baker Mayfield should be the guy moving forward. I think he's earned himself more than earned himself the right to be the Buccaneers
Keep your
quarterback.
point going, Billy. I'm walking away for a second. Keep your point
I
going.
got
I'm
you, buddy.
back.
I got you, buddy. I think he should be the guy. Baker Mayfield right now, you look at his stats, he's got 3,900 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That's fantastic. Over a 95 passer rating. And just to kind of perspectivize that, I mean, numbers sometimes, like a lot of people put up numbers and then they can always tell different arguments. But to perspectivize that as people who watch the Bucs, right? Or from a Bucs fan's perspective or just an organizational perspective, Baker's likely to end this season as a top 5 quarterback in both yards and touchdowns in for a single season in Buccaneers history. So just to put into perspective how impressive what he's doing by Buccaneers standards, this is a top 5 quarterback season that we're watching. And, the other people in the top 5, 2 of them are going to be Tom Brady. So when you really break it down, Baker Mayfield's having one of the best years this organization has ever seen. And it's very impressive. Of course, I think he's done enough to come back. I think numbers and the length of contract, that's definitely something that can be debated upon later. But yeah, of course, the Buccaneers should offer him something come this offseason, and it should be at the top of their priority list behind maybe Mike Evans.
I agree. I mean, you're not going to hear an argument for me. I think that really what we've seen from Baker has been good, man. I mean, you ask a fan of any team around the league, they're going to tell you that those are some good stats. And we've been bringing it up week in and week out, right? Week in, week out. I want to look up. You mentioned it. I wonder where Baker ranks among all like Tampa Bay Buccaneers seasons. I guess like single season leaders,
He's
right?
he's fifth right now in
He's
yards in
fifth
team
right now in yards.
with a game to go.
Okay.
Um, oh, I'm sorry. He's eighth in yards and he's fifth in touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. He's
So you're talking about again with a game to go. Look at the results. And Tom Brady, of course, is the top 2 for touchdowns. This is the greatest quarterback of all time. Tom Brady is 2 of the top 3 for yards, or actually, Tom Brady is 3 of the top 4 for yards. So when you compare it, just if you took Tom Brady out of the equation, Baker Mayfield's gonna be top 5 in every statistical category for a single season, and even maybe more impressive if you take those seasons, Baker Mayfield actually has the least interceptions of anybody who has 26 or more touchdown passes for the Bucs in a single season right now. And that's including Tom Brady. Tom Brady, his lowest with the Buccaneers, was actually 12 when he hit 40 and 43 touchdowns, respectively. So, yeah, Baker Mayfield's season has been, whether you like the guy, you don't like the guy, there's obviously arguments to be made both ways, but you can't take away from the fact that his performance has been something foreign to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for most of their team history.
yeah, like again, this is a guy who's having a top 5 season in team history. Why is
Yeah,
that a negative? Why is
yeah,
that bad? Like, so that's
yeah.
that's where I think you start to see that pull where it's, huh, like okay, 80 something percent, 84% is it makes sense whenever you consider what the heck we're looking at here, which is a pretty good season overall. Baker, he needs one more touchdown. Like what you were saying, Billy, he needs one more touchdown to finish 4th in a season
Yeah.
for a single season for the Bucs. It seems like he's probably, if I had to guess, probably going to get up to 5th, right? Maybe
And that would be putting him behind 3 Tom Brady's
in one Jameis season with the
and
30
one
for 30.
Jameis when Jameis threw 30 interceptions. So what are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
And
like it's a good year.
also, it's a great year.
So Billy, for me,
Great.
this is how I like to live life. For most things,
Lay
for
it on me.
especially for NFL, I see proof of a guy playing well. Shocker, I want to keep that guy around.
Hmm.
Surprisingly, I know that's a weird concept,
Yeah.
but that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Is we're seeing good play from Baker Mayfield. And to say that, yeah, and look, obviously Baker's not perfect, right? Obviously there's still some things on his game that he can improve on. Everybody has that. But we're seeing a lot more good than bad with Baker this
Well,
year.
can we say we're seeing a lot of good without any glaring bad? Maybe that would be kind of the terminology to use because there is no glaring red blinking light. Whereas in years past, we may have had players put up solid statistical performances, right? But there was always you're kind of waiting for the other shoe to
There's a
drop
caveat to
moment.
it.
Yes, great, nice. Way to finish my sentence. Yeah, there was always a caveat. With Baker, there's no caveat. Or at least thus far in his Tampa Bay Buccaneers tenure, there has not been a caveat. He has just been the same guy kind of consistently throughout. Of course, he caught a little bit of fire at the end of the season here recently, but it's not as if at any point during the season he was playing horrendously bad and then this ending portion of the season has offset that. He has been fairly steady throughout this season, and I think that it took people a long time to realize that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's it's cool to see. I think Baker should be back for the 2023 season. I think you would agree with that, Billy, and it seems like a lot of people agree with us. So, a very very interesting situation, right? For the Bucs. There was a couple other things I wanted to talk about, Billy. Todd Bowles' job security. Can we talk about that? Uh,
Oh, yeah.
I think that's going to be a fun topic. I
Yeah.
did, I did multiple polls, Billy, multiple polls for this one because I wanted to know what people thought. I said, if the Buccaneers lose on Sunday, should head coach Todd Bowles be fired? Okay. 1,800 people voted in this poll. 84% said yes. Hey, right up there with Baker. Look at that. Literally same percentages.
Yeah.
84% said yes. I then took it a step further. If the Buccaneers win on Sunday, make the playoffs, and are demolished in the first round, should
Demolished.
Todd Bowles still be head coach? 63% of 934 votes said no, he should not be head coach. I then took it a step further. I said, if the Buccaneers win on Sunday, make the playoffs, and are competitive or even win in the first round, should Todd Bowles still be head coach? 890 people voted. Billy, 59% said yes, he should.
Wow.
And it seems like that is the criteria in a lot of people's minds for him to keep his job. I talked about the Jeremy Fowler report earlier in this live stream and made a video about it earlier this week where it is the idea of they haven't really felt in danger. It seems like as long as they win and get into the playoffs, it seems like they're probably going to be safe. What are your thoughts and opinions on Todd Bowles and his job security right now?
Well, I hate to be that guy, but I think regardless of what happens Sunday, and then if the Buccaneers win, regardless of what happens next weekend, I think Todd Bowles will be back as the Bucs head coach. I don't think his job is on the line. I think he's safe. I think something that is really key that I understand, like results wise, it doesn't maybe feel that way, and Todd Bowles can be frustrating at times. But I think it's important to kind of hone in on expectation versus reality. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers before this season were supposed to win 3 games, 4 games, bottom of the NFC South, pick a quarterback with a top 5 pick. That was the projection, like league wide by every analyst for this team. Todd Bowles has taken this team to the cusp of a division title. Now, of course, it's been somewhat of a rocky road, but credit has to be given for just completely exceeding expectations for the team. He took a journeyman quarterback that nobody wanted, right? Most people thought he was a backup. Bucs fans didn't want him. The league didn't want him. He took that guy. He took a team that is not wasn't kicking this season away, but a lot of this season is just young players on the roster so the Bucs can clean up their cap. That's the situation Todd Bowles took over. It's also the first season where he got to hire his own guy to be the offensive coordinator, which is obviously very important since he's the defensive guy. And he took the team significantly further than anyone would have thought he would. And he did that against against the grain kind of because the Buccaneers were when they lost that Texans game earlier this season, there were a few different spots kind of in that midseason stretch where the Buccaneers were on a losing streak where the players could have tucked it in and just kind of quit on Bowles and quit on the season. And you and I speculated early in our tenure here on the live streams on the podcast that the team had quit on Bowles, and we were both wrong because they clearly did not. And that's a big credit to Todd Bowles. He seems kind of lifeless at times, but obviously the team respects him and they're willing to play for him because they could have just turned it in, put their tails between their legs, hung their heads, and walked home and quit. And they didn't. They rallied. That's a credit to the coach. I think the way he has handled the Devin White situation, again, that's a credit to the coach. I think he has gotten the most out of some players on the team, certainly not all. I think Todd Bowles is safe. And a big part of it is expectation versus reality. He took a team that was supposed to win a few games this year, has them on the precipice of a winning record and a playoff berth and a home playoff game. That's impressive. Also, last year, Todd Bowles did the same thing, and everybody said, well, it was Tom Brady. Now he's doing it minus Tom Brady plus Baker Mayfield. That is a huge difference at the quarterback position, and your head coach is getting you the same results. So credit's got to be given there. And as much as I get it for the people who don't want to see Bowles come back, I think he's completely safe because the position or the organizational position of the Bucs is not going to be the same as what a fan might think.
I am happy that you brought up expectations, Billy. I'm
Yeah.
very happy that you brought up expectations for this season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay? I'm very, very, very happy because I ran a poll on the community tab for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and whether or not people thought that the Buccaneers exceeded, met, or did not live up to the expectations for this season. And I think this affects a lot of people. I think that this is a roundabout way of talking about job security for Todd Bowles, talking about Baker Mayfield and whether or not he should be back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And these were the poll results. 61% of 825 people said exceeded, they were better than I thought. 10% said not lived up, they were worse than I thought, and 29% said they met my expectations. Now, at the beginning of the year, I projected the Bucs to go 8-9. They have a chance to exceed those expectations with a win next week and go to the playoffs.
Mhm.
But 61% of people said that they exceeded the expectations. Isn't that good? I think that that helps whenever you think about fan perception of Todd Bowles, fan perception of Baker Mayfield. If expectations are being exceeded,
Or
isn't
even if they're being met, which is another, what was the percentage of they're being met?
29?
Right. So it's
So
really 29 plus 61.
you have
That's how many
90 you
fans
have
are satisfied.
90% you have 90% of people who are either having their expectations met or
Right.
exceeded. And if the
They're
expect
satisfied.
yes, and if the expectations met are a division title and going to the playoffs, how's that a bad thing? And, and
Right.
and look, we've talked about Todd Bowles in the past. We've talked about job security in the past as well. And look, we thought whenever they were 4-7, hey, things are going south pretty quick. He may have lost the locker room. No, we were wrong. And I will 100% admit, down the stretch, the second half of the season, Todd Bowles and his guys, Baker Mayfield and his guys, they've really turned it around. And that's commendable. And I give a lot of respect to that because that's obviously not an easy situation to be in. But I know that there's still some people out there who are going to talk about the idea of, is the season of, is the Super Bowl is the ultimate goal and things along those lines, talking about expectations, right? And talking about how the goal is to win a Super Bowl, and if you don't win a Super Bowl, then you have a failed season. Essentially, I've heard those takes before. I have a counter to that, and I'm going to show the class a video. It is a 1-minute video of Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, We're going to the NBA for this because a reporter asked Giannis Antetokounmpo this exact question of, you didn't win a championship, do you consider this season a failure? And I heard Giannis's reaction, and I knew I wanted to share this clip with everybody. I knew I wanted to, Billy. So, are you ready to listen to this clip?
I'm ready.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can get on board here. Let me actually hold on just a minute. I'm going to have to figure this out, everybody. Hold on just a moment. I'm going to share screen 2 with you, Billy, so that you can watch it. Everybody's going to be very confused in the chat here in a second, but hold on one moment. So we've got the clip here. Okay, hold on. Let me fix the audio on this, and then we will get it going. Billy, can you hear the clip?
Yes, I believe I was able to hear it.
Okay. Well, everybody watching, let's go ahead and watch this clip together. I think you'll be able to hear it, so let's go ahead and listen in.
Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure? That's what you're telling me? I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Okay, exactly. So why you asking me that question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports. You know, there's good days, bad days. Some days you are able to be successful, some days you're not. Some days it's your turn, some days it's not your turn. And that's what sports is about. You don't always win. Some other people's gonna win. And this year, somebody else is gonna win. Simple as that. We're gonna come back next year, try to be better, try to build good habits, try to play better, not have a 10-day stretch with play bad basketball, you know, and hopefully we can win a championship. So 50 years from 1971 to 2021 that we didn't win a championship, it was 50 years of failures? No, it was not. It was steps to it, you know, and we were able to win one. Hopefully we can win another one.
Yo, are you putting on a movie?
I don't watch movies.
And there you go. Also, we got a little bit of Trevor Wallace. Shout out Trevor Wallace. That dude's hilarious. I want to show another. That was from Mighty Duck of Anaheim, by the way. So go subscribe to him if you do have a chance. This one is from GD's highlights. It's the same question.
I just asked Bud the exact same question, but I'm curious for you. Do you view this season as a failure?
Oh my God. You asked me the same question last year, Eric. Okay. Do you get a promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. Every year you work towards something, towards a goal, right? Which is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, I don't know, provide a house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success. Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure? That's what you're telling me? I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports.
So I show you those clips, everybody. I show you those clips because I feel like that is a very profound statement from Giannis. I do. And, it talks of the idea of, okay, and let's translate that to Tom Brady's career, right? Whenever you talk about expectations, whenever you talk about those types of things. Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls, I believe, right? So is every other season a failure for Tom Brady in his career? No, of course not. That one year that they went 17-0, but they didn't win the Super Bowl. Does that make it a failure? Of course not. Of course not. Obviously you didn't finish the way you wanted to, but it just raises an interesting question. Right? And I wanted to bring that up because we talk about expectations. You want to talk about growth. You want to talk about taking steps in the right direction. And, I do see somebody in the chat saying you compete to win it all. Does that mean 31 other teams consider those organizations, the owners, the players, the general managers, the head coaches, they all consider that season a failure? I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if that's accurate, because that's not how anything else in life is. It's not. Um, I think Giannis, and I wanted to show that because I just wanted to get everybody's thoughts and opinions about that. Billy, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think what Giannis is kind of alluding to, and it was great. That was cool. I like the little, yeah, pulling out the smart board. Teacher sits the class down for the video.
Oh yeah.
I think he's kind of alluding to like building blocks and making a foundation for yourself. And I think 100%, I agree that, sometimes you can fall short of winning a championship and have your season or your situation not be a lost cause or a failure. Of course, I do think that that is a very legitimate argument to make, because building blocks are important. I also think that is framed by expectation, however. And I don't think the Buccaneers expected to win a Super Bowl in 2023. So, yeah, I don't think that it's a failure if they don't win one, because I don't think that was the expectation. Like I just said kind of in the last, segment, trying to clean up your cap this year, find out if you have a quarterback in Trask or Baker, and find out if you have a good coordinator and a good coach in Bowles and Canales. So, yeah, I don't think it's a failure if the Bucs don't win the Super Bowl this year. However, I do think there is failure in sports. I disagree with the overarching theme that you can't fail in sports. That's just not true to me.
I do agree
Now,
with that. I do agree with that.
if you brought this up, which I vehemently disagree with, Tom Brady would probably tell you that the 16-0 season where they lose to the Giants is a failure. That season is probably, if I've never spoken to the man in my life, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's his like largest regret and his biggest frustration as a professional, that he lost that game. In a game where he played relatively poorly, right? It was 17-14, right? So they didn't score a lot of points. They didn't perform well on offense, or it might have been 21-17. Either way, low output for Tom Brady. I think he would look at that as a failure. And I think there's a chance that, even to take Giannis's example, Michael Jordan might comp, maybe not every season, but a lot of his seasons as failing seasons if he wasn't able to successfully win. I just think certain people are built differently. Certain competitors are built with different mentalities. And I think the reason I kind of single out that Tom Brady season, besides the fact that you brought it up, is because expectations are going to be a big determinant for what success and failure are. The Patriots said in their minds, we could win the Super Bowl this year. We should win the Super Bowl. Then when they get to 10-0, 11-0, 12-0, the expectation is we're not going to lose a game. So once you do lose a game and you get all the way to the precipice, you can taste it. And then you lose, that's bone crushing. And that is failure. If Peyton Manning would have lost to the Carolina Panthers and has to walk off his career that way, that's failure, right? Those are failing moments to me. Now, the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield are nowhere near that plateau. So, no, of course, this season, short of a Super Bowl, even if they don't make the playoffs, it's not a failed season. The Buccaneers are in a position where they're putting down building blocks. Now, if Tom Brady would have come to the Buccaneers in 2020, and if 2020 and 2021 and 2022 occurred with no championship, that to me would have been a failure, because the building blocks were already there. You built the foundation, and that was your chance to go at it. Right now, the Buccaneers are back in the building block phase to me. So while, yes, in theory, you want to win a Super Bowl every year, it's also not realistic. There are certain teams that are just not set up to win a Super Bowl every year. And the Buccaneers right now, they're laying the foundation for another run in the coming seasons.
I see the chat talking about if the Bucs lose this week, the season's a failure. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, okay, if the Bucs win, if the Bucs go to the playoffs, if the Bucs win the division, would you consider that season a success? And I think that front offices, I think that organizations set goals in their minds. The 07 Patriots, their goal at the beginning of the year, I highly doubt was to go 17-0 and go all the way to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl.
But don't you think expectations change?
They can.
They were like 14-0 and blowing everybody on the field out. I think expectations changed.
They certainly can, but I would also think that once that season ends, yes, your new expectations obviously would be considered a failure, but you obviously, I don't think that you should ignore what your original expectations were, right? If you go into a test, I guess, let's say, and your original expectations were, I want to get an 80% on this test, right? And you're taking the test, you're like, man, I feel really good about this test. I expect myself to get a 90%. And then you get an 80. Would you consider that a failure? Would you go, oh man? Or would you say,
Yeah.
okay, well, I thought I was going to get an 80% before I started taking the test. I felt great in the middle of the test, and then I got exactly what I thought I was going to get in the first place.
Yeah. That's a really great comp. I love when people take like analogies and make it, kind of real world examples. That's a great comp. And I think it's going to speak to the point that I just made where everybody's wired differently. Yes, James, I would view that as a failure. If I went into a test thinking I was going to get an 80, halfway through the test, I feel like I'm about to get 100, and I come back and get an 81, I'm going to be like, wow, I guess I didn't do as well as I thought. I adjusted expectations are a very real thing in my mind. I love that was a fantastic analogy, James. That was awesome. Because everybody's been in that situation. It's very relatable. I would equate that to a failure in my mind. I'd be glad that I got, an 80 or an 81 or whatever, as long as I passed did enough to succeed. But yes, in totality, I would look back at it and be like, I guess I wasn't doing as well as I thought I was doing. And it would make me question, where my headspace was at, I think for sure. So yeah, but what a killer analogy.
It's a
I
fun.
love that.
The reason I bring this up is it's a fun conversation I wanted to have with everybody today. Talking about expectations for the Bucs, whether or not it is a failure, whether or not it is a success. Point being, too, extremely subjective. Extremely subjective.
Yes. And can I take the Bucs season and put it to your test analogy?
Yeah.
I think the Bucs front office company and everybody was like, we need to get a 75 on this test to get our average up enough to pass the class. The Bucs started the season and kind of got a little bit of mojo, lost a little bit of mojo. Then they hit their December stride, got a little bit more mojo, and they were like, man, we could get an 85 on this test. We can do it, right? That already adjusted their expectation. It was like, wow, we can get an 85. Like, we're pretty good. We can get a B on this test. The heck with the C plus, let's get a B. And if they make the playoffs, get a home playoff game, that's a B, right? Now, maybe the Kansas City Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens want to get 100. They want an A plus, right? The Bucs never wanted an A plus. They wanted a C plus, and then they adjusted their expectations to a B, and they could still meet those expectations without the season being a failure. To me, I just don't think the Bucs are even in position to take that test. They didn't do enough studying to take that test thinking they could get an A. So I think even with their adjusted expectations, of course, they blew away their initial ones. Even with their adjusted expectations, I think that they are going to find the season to be a successful season.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun conversation, man. It is. I like it. I don't know, man. I mean, people obviously taking a look at it, people seem to feel like that their expectations were met or exceeded. And is that good enough? Do the Bucs agree with that? Does that factor into Todd Bowles' job security? Does that factor into, because obviously that's where we talk about subjectiveness, right? Because if that was the goal for everybody, if everybody was in their mind of Super Bowl or failure, right, then it would have been an overwhelming amount of, no, my expectations are not met if the Bucs don't, right?
Right. And I really think adjusted expectations are the key, because look at a team like the Jets. The Jets started training camp. They were like, well, we're a Super Bowl favorite. We're going to the Super Bowl. Very, very early in the season, the Jets became victims of, we're going to have to adjust our expectations. And when they adjusted their expectations, then you have to look at, well, what are the adjusted expectations? Are we going to make the playoffs as a wild card team? Can we still sneak in on good defense and a run game? Or are we just going to look to tank and lose a bunch of games and get a high draft pick? I think adjusted expectations are crucial, and that would be the only way Bowles would lose his job in my mind, would be if the Buccaneers failed the adjusted expectations. But I don't think they are even in danger of that, because even the adjusted expectations to me are not a deep playoff run or a Super Bowl team. The Bucs are on They have a quarterback on a 1 year deal, on a 1 year prove it deal. Situations like that don't generally net championships. That's not a championship build, right? If you looked at the archetype of championship teams, quarterbacks that were picked up off, out of free agency with offensive coordinators in their first year, you got a 1 year deal for your quarterback. You've got an older team where there's really not a lot of middle, right? There's older guys and then there's really young guys. The Bucs are just not built like a Super Bowl contender right now. They're a few years away, but right now is when you build all the pieces in place and build the foundation. And this year has been a great, in my opinion, foundational year for the Buccaneers. Now, next year, because of the success this year, you adjust your expectations and you say, well, okay, now if we bring these people back, right? Now all of a sudden, maybe the first round of the playoffs and a 9-8 record, maybe that's not good enough anymore. Now the expectations are raised, right? And you slowly build upon that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's fair. I think, like, to Giannis's point, whenever you start a job, right? If I joined, if I joined a job, is it a failure if I'm not the CEO after the first year? Right? Like, or is it a failure if I'm not promoted and getting a raise after the first year? I don't think so. I don't
No,
think.
but it is a failure if after 20 years and you go for that job, after 20 years, you interview for that job and you don't get it.
Yes,
Then it
that
becomes a failure.
that is
That's the difference.
yes, and that's that I agree with, but
That's the difference.
but the
And
mo
the Bucks aren't there right now, right? But
no.
in 4 years or 3 years or maybe, 2 years from now, the Bucks will be in a situation where you're like, wow, they have a third receiver. They have good pass rush. Baker Mayfield's still here playing good football. Now it becomes an adjusted expectation of, yes, now we should see that job promotion, right? That's when it becomes, to me, it's a slow build in the NFL. It doesn't happen just overnight. It is a very slow and steady build. The Super Bowl team that the Bucs had in 2020, Jason Light spent years. He spent legitimately half a decade building that team, right? That team had lots and lots of players on it that weren't just planted there in 2020. There were seeds that were watered and grown into beautiful plants and flowers long before Tom Brady arrived. He showed up to a team stacked with playmakers and superstars and just was the cherry on top. So I think it because it felt like microwave success, people forget all of the recipes and cooking and ingredients that went into that team. Drafting guys like Mike Evans, right? Building Mike Evans. Mike Evans was a much different player by the time Tom Brady got here than when he was catching passes from Mike Glennon, right? Building players like that and building your team. Think about the Buccaneers offensive line when they won with Tom Brady, right? That was homegrown talent that took years to prepare. Cody Mauch should be better next year, right? The interior offensive line should improve next year from jump. Luke Gedeke and Tristan Wirfs both playing in new positions this year. Next year, the expectation is they'll hit the ground running. So I just think you got to, yes, in theory, you want to win the Super Bowl every year, but it's not realistic. You have to have expectations for each individual team based on where the program is.
I agree. Again, it's an extremely subjective thing. I wanted to talk about it just because it's a fun conversation. I think it's good. I wanted to show the Giannis clip too, just because that's an NBA champion as well,
Yeah.
by the way, giving his thoughts and opinions on expectations on a year. This is a guy who's won a championship,
It's a winner.
and I think it gets subjective even with players themselves and people in organizations themselves. Um, so it is an interesting conversation that I wanted to talk about. Very subjective. Some people are going to say that it's Super Bowl or bust. Some people are going to say, look, as long as you're showing improvement. And look, I'll say this, and I was thinking about it while you were making your points there. Like, the Bucs now feel like a team that is maxed out currently,
Yes.
right? Is maxed out currently.
Mhm.
Like we're seeing the top potential of what the current Bucks can be.
Yes.
And I feel like that can improve, obviously, but you're going to need to add some pieces. You're going to need to bring in some different things. I feel like in terms of expectations for this current Bucs team, we're seeing the max of what those expectations are.
Yes,
To me, that is a positive thing.
100%. Can I add to that though?
Yeah.
So now going into next year, if you're the Bucks in the offseason, obviously you want to bring back your guys, but to me, you're gearing up to take down a team like the 49ers. Because right now, if the Bucks do, let's just say, whoever they draw in the playoffs, but let's just say they win the first round of the playoffs. They get in and they beat the Eagles. Cool. I don't see any way in which the Bucks can go into San Francisco and beat the Niners, short of maybe Brock Purdy destroying his elbow again. I just don't think that's going to happen. So that's what you then take into your offseason. Okay, now we're here and we want to get here. So now we have to build a team that can beat the best NFC team. Whereas before you were here trying to get to here, you're up another level in my mind. I agree. I think that they are at the peak of their expectations right now with the current build of.
I will say I think they've exceeded expectations.
Sure.
I think they're playing to the max of their potential as a team right
Yeah.
now. Is more so my point.
I don't disagree. I think you're right. And that's, as we started this, that's credit to the coach. And that's why I think Todd Bowles is safe, because I don't know that anyone thought he would be where he is right now. So you got to give him credit for that. Just have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting situation, man. It is. It's fun. It's fun. But Billy, we've been talking for a good long while here on the channel. We've been going for almost an hour. You know what it's time for?
What is it time for, James?
The Immaculate Grid. Are you ready for this?
I look forward to this, James. I love these.
This one's gonna be very fun because it's
we got
Tampa.
Bucs?
It's Bucs. Look at that! Oh my goodness!
I'm excited.
Oh, I love to see it. Okay, you know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. I wonder. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
Ooh, okay, okay.
So you can see what's going on as well, and the chat can see what's going on.
I already got one, James.
Do you? Okay, well, we'll talk about it in a moment here.
I'm excited.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started with this Immaculate Grid. It is, what is this, January 5th? This is grid number 170, Billy. All right. The Denver Broncos and the Atlanta Falcons. What are your thoughts and opinions on that?
That was not the one that I originally got. That is my first thought and my first opinion.
That was not the one that you got originally. What do you mean by that?
I looked at Bucs Bengals and I thought of a really good one.
Oh, well, we'll talk about that in a moment. But Broncos, Falcons. That one's tough, man. That one's tough. Is there anybody that comes to mind for you?
Broncos, Falcons. Well, the Falcons have a lot of players, and the Broncos have a lot of players.
They have a lot of players on football teams.
A lot of players on football teams.
Can confirm. I want to see what the chat's going to say as well, by the way. Let's see if I can pull up the chat here. Okay. Up the chat's gone somewhere. Chat, where'd you go?
Nobody has posted anything here. The last thing I see is "We will smack the Niners." LOL, JK.
Well, we love that. All right, Broncos 49 or Broncos Falcons. That's a good one. Okay, who are some quarterbacks?
I know. The first thing I thought of was Jake Plummer. I don't think he played for the Falcons though.
Not that I know of.
Right?
Schaub, he played for the Falcons. I don't think he played for the Broncos. Brock Osweiler didn't play for the Falcons, as far as I know.
No, I don't think so. Trevor Siemian didn't play for them.
Vic never played for the Broncos.
The Broncos are just a tough team to think of people. I feel like I don't.
Is there a tight end? I feel like there's a tight end somewhere in my brain that may have played for the Broncos.
What about Joel Dreesen? Did he play for the?
Ooh, I don't know. We'll come back to that one.
Okay.
How about Broncos Bengals?
Broncos Bengals.
That one feels harder.
Broncos Bengals. I'm thinking the Broncos the
I don't know
Wow.
a lot of players from the Broncos. Like
Chad, where are you?
TJ Hushmanzada, Brandon Marshall played for the Broncos at one time. I don't think Tim Tebow ever played for the Bengals, but I love the effort. Now we're getting the no Sean Moreno. Did he ever play for the Bengals? I don't think so. Royce Freeman, did he ever play? He did play for the Texans. I think we could get Broncos Texans in there. You remember Royce Freeman?
No.
No. You don't remember Royce Freeman? Running back?
No. What is Royce Freeman?
Royce Freeman's a running back.
Is that from the chat?
No, that's just all that's all me. 1%, baby. Ooh.
I'm trying to think. Did
Terrell Owens, Bengals Broncos. I don't think he ever played for the Broncos.
He played for the Broncos. I'm thinking, hear me out on this, James. I know he played for the Bengals.
Mhm.
I'm like, in my mind he played for the Broncos, but I'm certainly not sure.
Okay.
Okay. Deltha O'Neal.
Who even is that?
He's a cornerback.
Uh,
You're like, oh man,
I don't even know who that is.
I know he played for the Bengals, and in my mind, I remember he was on the Broncos. That's the best I could give you for that one.
I'm scared. Okay, you know what? Let's dive into some ones that we know. How about Bucs Falcons?
Said Adam Jones. No, I don't think he played for the Broncos. That was a good shot, though.
Let's dive into some ones that we know, Billy.
Okay.
Bucs Falcons.
Russell Gage, Julio Jones immediately come to mind.
Yeah, Jaquiz
Scotty
Rogers.
Miller.
Scotty Miller's a good one.
Rogers.
You want a real deep cut? I know people ain't gonna get this one.
Lay it on me.
Robert McClain.
Oh wow, that's a good one, James.
You remember him?
Of course.
Corner, man, he was a starter.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one.
Let's see. He played from 2010 to 2017. 0.02%. All right.
James, that might be the best poll we'll ever have on this channel. You're at 1-0.
Now we're cooking with gas. Now we're cooking. All right. Bucs and Bengals.
I got two.
Okay.
They're both deep.
Alex Kappa's one.
That's too obvious.
Yeah, okay.
Michael Johnson.
That's a good one.
Anthony Collins.
I like Anthony.
Those are deep.
I like Anthony Collins more.
Those are deep.
Because he was only with the Bucs for a year. Oh,
James killing this one.
Chris Baker? Didn't he play for the Bengals?
Did he play for the Bengals?
I'm going Anthony Collins. 0.07%, man. What
James, for killing that middle row.
What a crappy era. Oh my god. Jeez. Buccaneers
Type
in
Deltha O'Neal. Give it to me. Deltha O'Neal.
Look, we'll come back to it. Okay, we'll come back to it. Let's do Bucs and Texans.
Dare Ogunbowale.
That's a really good one. I feel like people are gonna remember him though because he just kicked a field goal recently.
That's a good point.
Who's another player who played for the Bucs and the OJ Howard?
True.
Vernon Hargreaves.
Wait, oh my gosh, Vernon Hargreaves. Yeah, you took it from me. Yes.
That was it. Let's go Hargreaves. I want to see if please 4%.
Wow, we're just killing it right now, James.
We are cooking, man.
Yeah, we destroyed that Bucs row. We destroyed that.
Yeah, I would hope so. All right. 5,000 plus receiving yards in a career, and they had to have played at least one game with the Atlanta Falcons.
It's one game?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, I was thinking it was a season.
Oh, Broncos Bengals. Josh Johnson? I just thought about that. I had a thought.
I don't know if he played for the Broncos.
I think he did, Billy.
Dude, trust me. Just put in Deltha O'Neal.
Okay. We're putting in Delta. How do you even
Deltha.
I was like, okay, Deltha. I'm going with it.
Bang!
Let's go, Billy from the logo. Bang! 3%.
I can't believe 3% actually got that.
That is nuts. I was not expecting that. Okay, guys. Well, now we've only
Doesn't
got
even have my man doesn't even have a photo.
no, no. Now we've only got Broncos, Falcons. Chat. We're gonna let you work on that. Let's
Yeah, we
work
need help
on 5,000 plus receiving yards in a career for the Falcons.
Mm.
Roddy White and Julio Jones are the first two that come to mind.
Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, Tony Gonzalez is a good one.
Does Jake Jimmy or Austin Hooper have 5,000 yards receiving for a career?
I want to say yes, but I'm scared.
That's a tough one because you're like 5,000 for
That's a
middle.
lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I don't think Gage ever hit it. I don't think
Have to
Gage.
play at least one game for the Falcons, so they don't even have to be actual Falcons. How about like Andre Rison
Oh,
probably?
yeah, that's a good point. I completely forgot about that. The rule is that when paired with a team, must have played at least one game with that team in their career. That's the rule. So, I mean, okay, let's kind of go through this. Rison, it's a good guess. I don't know if he ever did it. 5,000 plus receiving yards in a career. I think of T.O. for the Bengals. I'm looking at Bengals now.
Oh, AJ Green.
AJ Green. Yeah. Oh, for the Falcons.
That's what I was talking about. Rison, yeah.
Dude, didn't AJ Green play for the Falcons?
No, I played for the Cardinals.
It was dang it. It was the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think of some old person who was just on the
Who's just on the Falcons hanging out.
Yeah. The Falcons don't really do that. They don't really bring in a lot of older
Old people who are just hanging out.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
not something they really do.
This is going to wind up being like our highest percentage.
I hope it is.
Oh, I mean, it's going to be like our most people pick this one.
Yeah. So, I got you. Somebody said Ocho Cinco. Yeah, but brutal. Instead of talking about Baker, you could help us with this immaculate grid.
Getting used, Baker, is like saying get used to a mediocre indefinitely career on. Not likely.
Hey, we're trying to go for a 100% immaculate grid right now.
Brutal as Bucs. Tell me how you really feel, though. That's what I need to know.
Okay, 5,000 plus receiving yards in a career for the Falcons, Bengals, or Texans.
Well, the Texans, obviously Hopkins and Andre Johnson.
Yeah.
They're the obvious ones.
We're going for deep cuts, guys. We're going for deep cuts.
I don't know, like the Texans haven't even been around long enough to have like real traditional deep cuts.
Let's go with I don't think Andre Rison ever got to 5,000, Billy. I don't think he did.
I'm Googling it if we don't pick him after this just to see what his stats were.
Is there anybody else, folks?
The Falcons just don't have. Who did like Chris Chandler throw to back in the day? They just don't have like a lot of like, there's not a lot of legendary Falcons in that regard.
No, but I'm also trying to think of guys who aren't legendary Falcons. Ooh, did Jerry Rice ever play for the Bengals?
No,
he didn't.
Play for
I kind of want to go with Terrell Owens for the Bengals.
No, it's not deep enough, James.
I feel like people aren't going to remember he played for the Bengals, though.
But he's T.O.
Yeah.
What about like for the Bengals?
Who is Terrence Mathis?
He was on the Texans.
I don't think
did he get that many yards?
I don't.
Wait, Terrence Mathis, was he on the Falcons? Did he get that many yards? Is he a 5,000-yard guy?
It doesn't feel like he did. Doesn't feel like
Jason Elam.
Who is Jason Elam?
The kicker.
Is that for the Broncos and Falcons?
Did he play for the... Wow, that could be a...
We're going to go for it. He played for 16 years. He did. Okay.
Chat, okay.
Okay. 21%. 21%.
And the chat gets credit. We got another guy without a photo. Let's go, chat.
That's great. 5,000 plus receiving yards in a career, guys. I mean, we could go for the high percentage ones. We could.
Do you think there's any chance Gage has that?
No.
What is I don't know. How long has he been playing? You're right.
Yeah, no, there's no way. There's no way.
Take it back. Well, so the obvious ones are Julio, Roddy White, and Tony Gonzalez, I feel like are really obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone who's deeper than
Did
that?
Dallas Clark play for any of these teams?
Play for Tampa Bay?
Did Heath Miller play for any of these teams?
No, Heath Miller is stealing home.
Did let's just start thinking about random greats who may have
Brandon,
went. Did Donald Driver play for any of these teams? Greg Jennings, uh, Giants. Victor Cruz. Did he end up going to any of these? Ooh, did Ruben Randall go to any of these teams? Mario Manningham.
Randall?
Remember Ruben Randall?
Yes, but I don't think he has 5,000.
Did Ted Ginn play for any of these teams?
Ted Ginn did not. Ted Ginn played for
Was Chris Collinsworth a receiver with the Bengals?
He was. I don't know if he got 5,000 yards though. Eddie Brown that's a good poll. I don't know if he got 5,000 yards just because I feel like that's a lot for an older player. But Eddie Brown definitely played for the
Did
Bengals.
Josh Gordon play for any of these teams?
No.
Did Danny Amendola play for any of these teams?
Danny Amendola.
He played for the Texans.
But did he get 5,000 yards?
Of course he did.
I don't know if that's that obvious.
I'm
Danny
going.
Amendola.
I'm going for it.
Oh, I don't know, James.
I'm putting my chips down.
Wow.
0.6%, baby. Yes.
Oh my God.
Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes. Somebody said Marvin Jones for the Bengals. That's a good one. Guys,
That is a really good one. That's
we got to start thinking outside the box,
Ooh,
obviously.
that made me think of this. Does Mohamed Sanu have 5,000? Because he played for the Bengals and the Falcons.
Oh, he might, but we can only use the answer once.
But we could use it for the Falcons, and then we have Marvin Jones.
I don't think Mohamed Sanu ever got to 5,000. Doesn't it feel like he didn't?
I'm utterly shocked Danny Amendola catching like 5-yard outs ever made it to 5,000. That's a lot.
Love
like
it.
Screen passes and ins and outs.
I love it. Okay, let's keep on going down the list here. Somebody said Darnay Scott. Tyler Boyd's too obvious. I don't know. I don't trust the Eddie Brown. I don't trust it.
Eddie Brown is one of the better receivers in Bengals history. He just played in the 80s.
Chris Carter. Did he ever play for either of these teams?
No.
No? Okay. Let's keep on thinking. What about who was that one guy that was with the Lions for a couple of years? Galladay?
Galladay didn't play for these teams.
Okay, Galladay didn't play for these teams.
Calvin Ridley was another. He might be another good one for the Falcons. I didn't think of him.
Yeah, Ridley's not bad. Darnay Scott is if he was really good in the past, I don't want to put it per se.
I say all right, who's saying
we'll put Darnay Scott. We'll go for it. Chat, we'll go for it.
Trust the chat. Here we go.
We're trusting the okay. Chat was on to something.
Oh my gosh.
Chat was on to something. Chef. Hey, he do be cooking. He really do be cooking.
That was insane.
He really do be cooking though. Now we've only got the Falcons.
Look at our polls here. These are insane.
We're going good.
We have 4 polls under 1%.
We've got one more.
Yeah, Falcons. Andre Rison. Does Deion Sanders have over 5,000 receiving yards?
No.
What about Devin Hester?
That's not bad.
I don't know what.
I feel like people are going to think of Devin Hester, though. We need one more for the Falcons team. Who are some just random receivers who played for the Falcons?
Devin Hester.
Roddy White's going to be too obvious.
Yeah, Roddy White. We can't do Roddy White, Julio.
Scotty, Tony G. Austin Hooper's kind of a cut. I don't know. I'm just
curious if he ever made it to
a 5,000. Is he even? He's not even in the league anymore, is he? Or is he with Cleveland?
He was on the Browns relatively recently.
I kind of want to go. I kind of want to go Austin Hooper team.
Is that the win though? For the win?
Did Adam Thielen ever play for the Falcons? I don't think so.
No.
Chef B. Cookin said Terrence Mathis. I mean, look, Chef B. Cookin, he was cooking earlier. We're gonna go.
That's true. Terrence Mathis. Who is it? Chef B. Cookin for the win.
Yeah, we're gonna go for it. Here he is, 1990-02. We're gonna go for it. We got it. What was the percentage? 1%.
Wow, Chef be cooking. You have to be here next week.
Folks, we
You
got
absolutely have to be here next week.
a rarity score of 32. 32.
Wow.
That's the lowest
Average
I've ever
score-
gotten. That's the
The average
lowest.
score is 5.
See, look, here's all the high end. Julio was up there. Chad Johnson was up there. Andre Johnson was obviously up there.
Oh, Fitzpatrick played for like all of these teams, and we didn't even think of him.
He did. Well, it was too obvious, you know.
And we also we didn't even mention Gio.
Real quick. Yeah, that's true. Well, we'd already had our deep cuts. We'd already had our deep cuts.
We killed the Bucs one pretty good.
I want to go ahead and look at something real quick just to have vindication. No, he did. Okay, he didn't play for. I thought Josh Johnson would be in there. He was not.
Oh wait, I gotta look up Andre Rison's stats.
You got to. Yeah, it's true. For the Falcons?
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah, he has 10,000 yards in his career.
Okay. Well,
He definitely had it.
that would have been nice. How about that though, Billy? Score of 32. Not bad.
With the chat, killing it.
Not bad at all for us, man. I love to see it. All right, heck yeah. We crushed it. We absolutely crushed it. We are immaculate today.
Just to prove. Oh, the chat. Eddie Brown, 6,000. 6,100 yards. The chat was right on Eddie Brown, too.
Love it. Oh, hey, look, Billy, today on January 5th, we are immaculate. And it feels good. It feels good.
Does feel good.
Oh, my. Well, with that, Billy, I think it's time to end off our shindig here, our live stream, if you will. What do you think?
This was really fun.
It was
and
a good
shout
one.
out to the chat. The contributions.
Chat went crazy. Also, chat, we have one rule. Don't Google it.
Also, also Doug Waddle with Carl Pickens. That's another great poll. Carl Pickens did play for the Bengals. That's another one.
I'm gonna assume nobody Googled out of good faith. So fantastic polls, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Our hats. We don't have any hats on, but if we did, they'd be off to you.
We are all immaculate together. Okay, you guys go through the rest of your day knowing that we are all immaculate. Okay, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
all
that
right,
was cool.
All right, guys. Well, go subscribe to Billy's channel. That's in the description. Go check that out. We're trying to get him to 1,000 subs. He's got something great planned, and we love it. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this podcast episode. It's greatly appreciated. And guys, as always, we will see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now. See you soon, and go Bucs.